Hi, my name is Romily. I graduated from Royal Holloway with a history degree in June. I'm now working in the British Motor Museum, and this is my story of how I broke into the heritage and museum sector. In terms of what I was thinking of for my career when I started my history degree was quite broad. I knew that with a history degree there was a lot that I could do, and I'd already had some experience in museums and galleries, so I thought I would investigate that further. When I first started here at the museum, I was a volunteer with Family and Lifelong Learning. So that was while I was at university. I was dedicating a lot of my time during the holidays to putting in hours here and learning loads of new things. I was specifically working on the projects with the Family and Lifelong Learning officer, so anything that she had going at the time I was able to learn from and be involved with. That involved making backpacks for children to use when they came to visit the museum. So that was very early years learning, but it was something that was really fun and quite straightforward for me to start off with. Since then, I've done a lot of other projects with the same department. I did a research project, writing a report about family activities and where we might be able to take them in the future. So that was an opportunity to do a lot more learning, a lot more research, but I was still a volunteer doing that project at the time. Having proved that I was passionate about all of these things, when I came to graduate, they were able to offer me a job with the Family and Lifelong Learning team. So I worked, paid in the museum, introducing families to the museum and telling them about our activities and supporting them with craft activities that we ran for families when they visited us. Since then, I've been able to apply for other roles within the museum. The first role that I applied for was the formal education team, which was another casual role. So most of my roles to start with have been 0 hours contracts, but that's been an important step to take, I think, in this sector. I worked as a casual learning assistant, which meant that I was helping to deliver school visits. So when children come to visit our museum, often I'll be the first person that they meet. I'll help deliver the workshops that we offer the schools on our programmes. And that was quite a learning curve, teaching 30 children. I'm 21, I've not done a PGCE, I'm not a teacher, but I learned something really important there about how to present, how to teach, and I'm definitely going to be able to take that with me. I have since applied for a more formal role in the office of the museum doing community engagement. So I'm now the community engagement coordinator. This role opened up and it was mentioned to me by some other people that work here that I should have a look at it. So I applied, I put in a formal CV and cover letter just like everybody else, did an interview just like everybody else, and I was offered the job. So I've just started doing that. I think the most important thing about that job is that it involves a lot of strong communication skills, because I'm working with a lot of different people now with different needs. A lot of the people that we work with as local community groups are disabled, they might have dementia, or they might be youth groups that are in our local community. We try and bring all of them into the museum as frequently as possible to be involved with art projects, like the one that I'm standing in front of now, which was done by a youth group. And we try and involve them with our collections as much as possible so that everybody in the local area knows that this is a place to come. The important steps that I took to get this job were to volunteer. I volunteered from when I was 19 after the first year of my degree, and I kept up that communication with the museum for 2 years until I graduated. They knew that I was going to put in work. They knew that I was passionate about the learning that I was experiencing while I was volunteering with them, and it meant that they felt confident in being able to offer me a role, a casual role on their learning team. So that's where I started, and I think that once you have got into that sort of, maybe it might still be a 0 hours contract, but once you've got into that job, you're on the ladder, and I felt that that was the most important thing, to be in the sector, earning in some capacity and learning as I did it. From there, the most important thing that I can suggest is that you take every opportunity. There might be things that you don't think are part of your dream job when you come into work, but I went through a few months of saying yes to a lot of things and trying a lot of different roles out that were maybe out of my comfort zone, or taking on a different challenge when I came into work one day and there was a group in that I didn't think that I was capable of presenting to. It's just saying yes and doing things and learning as you go along, and you do grow from it. I think in the last few months I've come a long way in my own view of myself. I didn't think that I'd be where I am this quickly, but it's because I've said yes to all of those opportunities that I've achieved what I have. The first day that I came into work to do my job after I'd graduated, it was a casual role that day. I was in to meet and greet the families as they came into the museum and offer them their activities. Someone mentioned to me that they had a team that they were trying to put together for formal learning, so that was the school's delivery and things like that. On my first day at work, that panicked me. I thought, I'm not ready to do that. I don't think that's something that I could do, maybe not yet at least. And I didn't apply, and there was a deadline on it. It was open to the public, it was on Leicester Museum's jobs desk, everyone had seen it and a lot of people applied, and unfortunately I didn't put in the application in time. I think due to the fact that I'm already working here, the museum and the staff know what I'm capable of. They saw my potential in that role. So a few people said to me, Romily, why didn't you apply for this? Or why didn't you just give it a shot? You'd probably be all right doing it, you could do it in the job you're doing now. Like, there were things that I were capable of, but I made the mistake that time around of not giving it a shot. Unfortunately, they were really kind enough to give me the opportunity to interview, and I did the interview for the job and I became part of that team. And that was a really poignant moment for me, learning that I should just be giving these things a go and not saying no to opportunities that are right there for me to just give a shot. I might not have got it, but you learn things from these applications, and that's definitely something that I learned the hard way. I thankfully was part of the team and things did progress, and I'm now working with schools that come in and visit us. And a few months later, another job came up for the Community Engagement Coordinator. This was a role that I was quite familiar with. I knew the lady that had been doing it previously. I knew the work she was doing, and when I saw that it came up online, I actually said, yeah, why not put in an application? I don't know where it's going to go, but you've got to try these things. And I know now that if I hadn't done that, I would still be on my 0 hours contract, relying on that, maybe not learning as much at all as what I am now. So I think that's the main point that I've learned in my months working here, is that if something appears and you think might be a little bit out of my reach, but I'm going to try it anyway, you might just get it, because that's what happened to me. But you've got to be willing to give these things a go and commit yourselves to things that aren't necessarily within your comfort zone. Otherwise you're just not going to get anywhere, especially in a sector that is so competitive. My university experience, I think, has definitely prepared me to go into this sector. When I was doing my second sort of round of volunteering here with the Family and Lifelong Learning team, it was between my second and third years of university, and I spent a lot of that summer report writing for the museum. I was doing research for them online, I was doing benchmark visits to collect research. I actually did a focus group with families that were frequent visitors to the museum, and I had really found, I surprised myself in a way, being able to put that report together. It was actually dissertation length by the time I finished it, and I think I realised what I'd learnt from my degree in terms of not just writing and like writing essays and things like that, but being able to collect research and have a focus, kind of an argument as well, I suppose, when it comes to an evaluation in a report like that. So that was really important from my degree skills side of things. But also while I was at university, I was on the committee for the Feminism Society, and that taught me a lot in terms of communication, working with different people and different people's views, and accessibility is a main point within that, which is becoming more and more important to the museum sector. So those are a lot of communication skills that I've brought forward from my university experience as well. From very early on while I was at university, I knew that the career service was going to be something to rely on. they offered a lot of panel talks about heritage jobs, and the main point that I found was stressed at every one of those panels by people that were already working in the industry was volunteering, and that made it clear to me that that was going to be something really important if this was a career path that I wanted. So I had learnt a lot from those people speaking from their experiences. I found that to be really important. Another interesting thing about the career service that I didn't find out till my third year was that not only could I do practice interviews with them during my third year in preparation for going into work, but that I could use them after I'd graduated as well. So what I've actually done since is, for some of my interviews that I've had here, I have contacted my university careers team and talked to them about what I'm doing. One time I actually had a phone consultation with someone in the career service to talk about what it's like to interview at a place where you're already working, because that's quite an unusual situation to be in, and they gave some really useful advice as to how to present myself clearly, even though those people already know you, which was quite a strange dynamic. I had to make sure that I still stressed every point about why I should be getting that job, even though they might have already known it. They needed to be able to write it on paper, and to be able to rely on the career service for things like that and advice like that, I think has been really helpful for me, and it's good to know that they're there for the next few months while I'm finding my feet in my career to talk to then as well. The most enjoyable thing about this job for me has been that it's been so varied, and I've done so many different things that I might not have expected to when I started here on my little 0 hours contract when I came into the sector. I've had a lot of opportunity to try things like presenting to groups. I didn't like presentations at university. I was the person that found them really distressing, but now I can quite comfortably talk to a group of 30 kids on the bus maybe if they've come to learn more about that history, or to a group of older people as well, which is quite important. It's such a range of people that I meet while I'm here, and a lot of people that are really passionate about cars and know a lot more than me about things that I'm quite happy to listen to, the insight that they have too. So I think the ability to mix with so many different people that come in and visit us, especially now with my new role as community engagement coordinator, where I'm meeting even more people that might not know that the museum's even here and not know what our programmes are, to be able to meet with so many different people and tell them about history is something that has been really enjoyable over the past few months. Mavis is one of our characters that's in the museum here. What it means is that I get in costume when I come into work in the morning, and I come over here on the bus and talk to the general public that are visiting us about the bus and its history and the social history, so what Mavis would have got up to as the clippie on this bus. So that's been something really unusual for me to have a go at. More and more museums are offering jobs like this as explainers, where you're in character, and it's kind of an acting role, which was so out of my comfort zone, but we've been supported with voice coaching, training of that sort, and it's just so interesting to see what's going to happen here every day when different people come in and seeing their reaction to someone in character telling them about history. They might not expect that from a motor museum, so that's been really exciting. I love Mavis. Mavis is great. Some people think that I'm a waxwork if I've been stood still for maybe a few seconds. They don't expect me to start talking to them, and I stay in character as Mavis as well. So when people are talking to me, sometimes people are really into it and they really want to know what Mavis is all about and what her background is, which I can tell them. Some people are just a bit thrown by it, and maybe you then stand back and let them enjoy their experience of looking at the bus by themselves. But I really like talking to people that are really excitable about it and understand the work that you're doing and why it's so exciting to bring that history to life in that way. So that's the best reaction I can get. Kids love it. Kids get really excited that they can meet Mavis and climb on the bus and have a look. So that's really fun. I think moving forwards with my career, having worked here at the museum, I am quite interested in doing some more education. I have seen that a lot of people in this sector do have a master's, and while I'm doing quite well for myself in my roles right now, I would really like to think that there's room for me to progress further. So there's a course at Leicester that I'm looking at doing part-time, and it's a distance learning course, and Leicester's not too far from where I am anyway, so hopefully I'll be doing some learning on the side of working here that's my plan for the first few years. Looking at places that I'd really like to work, there's obviously the big museums that people always think of. Maybe people that don't visit museums as often think of places like the Science Museum in London or the V&A or somewhere like that, one of the really big ones. That would always be a goal to try and work towards. But I think I've learned that smaller museums that aren't maybe in London have also got a lot to offer in terms of careers as well. So I've got quite an open mind about it, and it might be that I find myself a job in a completely different sector with the skills that I've gained here. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. In terms of the themes that I really have found that I've enjoyed working around, I think learning, and that's not just children, that's lifelong learning, community learning is something that I've seen is really important to this sector, but probably also a lot of others in this day and age. So that's something that I would really like to build on, and my master's that I'm looking to do is specifically socially engaged practices in museums and galleries. So I think if I take that further that way, it might lead me to those sorts of jobs as well.